a lot of conversations I have with clients or just people who are curious about podcasting is there room for growth? Is there room for more podcasts? Is it oversaturated now? Can I make money with my podcast? How do I do all of the work that it takes to make a podcast, but without spending all of this money?
Yep.
But are you getting those kinds of questions too? And
100%. I get, yeah, I get less of the, like, is it oversaturated? I see that a lot. I don't necessarily get that a lot. But I think, I guess to just dive into that for a minute, I think that's such an interesting concern because it's like, one, there is no limit, right? It's not like we're working in traditional media where we have like air bands and we need to worry about like, okay, who's on, this radio station. Like we're not limited by anything, right? It's all digital in this case. But also it's like, how many influencers are there on Instagram? Like there's gazillions, right? And there's nowhere near as many podcasts, at least active ones. Like there are plenty, still probably not anywhere near like Instagram sort of influencers, but yeah, I mean, there's so much room, and I think it's been growing so quickly as an industry that when podcasting gets thrown out, a lot of people are like, oh, it's blowing up. I don't know if we can do any more. But I think any kind of new media, or even though podcasting isn't really new, but any new media, at least in the public's eye, always has that same kind of projection where like it explodes. Everyone's like, oh my God, everyone's here. But yeah, there's always room. I mean, that's kind of my answer. It's like, of course there's room. Like if you have something to say, there's room for you. That's kind of the moral of the story. But yeah, and it's the second thing you said about, I want to make a really pro show, but I'm working on like a dime budget right here. Yeah, that's a problem a lot of people have. And it's not a huge problem for some people. Like you can put out just a regular kind of more or less unproduced show, and as long as you kind of do a good job of capturing it on the front end and it doesn't sound like you're in a garage, then you're probably fine. Like most people are going to be okay with that. Once you start striving for like the Radio Labs and the NPRs and the really, really big show, like once you start dipping into that sort of realm of production, you really do want to make sure you're like presenting yourself well. But for the average Joe, it's like a lot of YouTube channels, it's fine if it's kind of grassroots and it's kind of like DIY. There's a little bit of charm to that.
I think that it's awesome that so many people are getting into this space. And I agree that there's a lot of room for people. Like there's still room.
Mm-hmm.
A statistic that I like to keep in mind is there's still 40% of people in the United States who don't even know what a podcast is or have even ever listened to a podcast. So, and this is according to the latest data from Edison Research. Like this is based on like real surveys, real research. And this means that there is still a lot of room to grow. Like a lot more people know what a YouTube video is.
Oh yeah. For sure.
What was I talking? I was talking to my doctor well, never mind. This is left turn, but I had my physical, my 1-year physical yesterday. And we were talking about just like exercises to do after having a baby with my doctor. And my doctor's like, yeah, that's what I did too. I just went on YouTube and watched those videos. And I was like, everybody knows about YouTube, but not everybody is listening to podcasts. So
yeah. I think part of that is like, it's difficult to discover. It's not difficult to share, but like YouTube has kind of built this platform where you hop on the homepage and it's like, you don't even need to know what you want to do. You can just hop on there and like you're guided into hours of just, rabbit holes of watching random things. And like podcasts haven't quite gotten there yet. And I don't know how they are or if they are ever going to get there, kind of as like them being all of them, like Apple and Google and Spotify and all of them. But yeah, there's this weird, like, even though there's like a ton of people in the US that listen to podcasts, I still feel like there's this weird barrier to entry where like if you want to dive in, you need to have a very specific goal in mind. Like you need to know what you're going to go listen to. You need to hopefully assume that you're going to enjoy it. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason, but it is interesting. It's like, it's huge, or at least growing, but it's not like sort of household conversation yet.